What's going on YouTube? Aaron here, and in today's video we are going to be jumping back into the Kiely Rodni case, specifically talking about some of the new information released in the most recent press conference, where the case stands in its second full week, and a couple of things that have happened kind of behind the scenes that could help bring some answers to this story that is now in its second week. So this is going to be just kind of a one-take video going through. If you're unfamiliar with this story, Kiely Rodni went missing the morning of August 6th out of Truckee, California. She was believed to have been at a campground party that grew to a large scale of 200 to 300 people. There's a lot about this case out there in the last week. I will leave some links down below, as well as the link to my previous live stream where I jumped into the case for the first time to kind of learn more about it. I'm still very new to the case, even though it's still such a fresh case. But let's go through some of the new information, some of the new stuff that is being talked about today as the case enters its second week.
We've identified lead investigators from each agency, Placer County Sheriff, Nevada County Sheriff, CHP, Truckee PD, the FBI, and we will be moving forward in a task force manner. That means that with these leads, we'll be able to cycle personnel through rather than having a large group of personnel here. It doesn't mean the investigation is going to stop. It will continue to move forward. I hope that answers.
So they, in their press conference, just said that they are, dedicating and assigning leads on the case on each level, each agency level, right? You've got the sheriff, the police, the local guys, and then you've got the FBI that is involved. Each person, each agency now has a technical lead, and they're going to be swapping guys in and out. Obviously, in the first 2 days and ultimately really the first week of this case, they had boots on the ground. They had all of their efforts being used to try to find her quickly. And obviously that's what you do, right? If you have the resources and you have the availability and the manpower, you're going to do everything you can in that first 48 hours and beyond into that first week to find her. But now being into week 2, it's not uncommon that they take a step back and they try to get more refined with both their search and their investigation side. They're at this point now where they're probably, obtaining cell phones from some of the close friends, some of the people that maybe have come forward from the party to gather valuable data to then start piecing together behind the scenes an actual case, an actual trail to try to find Kiely. It is said that they're actually seeing her in some videos and photos that have been submitted. The friend Sam has said that hundreds of videos or hundreds of photos have been submitted. I think the Placer County or Placer, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. The sheriff's office, I think, tweeted back to them like, no, we haven't received hundreds of photos. That's not real information. But please continue to come forward and provide these photos. So there's just a lot of kind of unknowns around this case. But as of right now, they're scaling back the search. It seems that they're scaling back the search, but that doesn't mean that they're scaling back the investigation. In fact, it could just mean that they're going deeper into some of these theories and things that may be coming forward from some of their tips and their leads. Excuse me. In addition to that,
for security
in addition to that, we have the Adventures with Purpose team, which if you guys are unfamiliar with them, they are a dive team, a YouTube channel that's focused around search and rescue using sonar technology to find vehicles that are in bodies of water. So they've been responsible for, I think, a couple dozen unsolved cases, and they have been actually called to help, I think, by a lot of people in that local area that were familiar with their videos. And then the agency that they're going to be involved with is unknown at this time, but they're going to keep it on the DL because this is an active and open case. They specifically focus on older cases that are essentially cold. And so this is uncommon for them to step into a case that is active and this fresh. I mean, this case is not even multiple weeks old at this point. It's just a couple weeks old. So the Adventures with Purpose team is going to be going out there. It's really cool that the agencies that are involved in this are not getting their egos in the way of a team that is only there to potentially help. These guys can do nothing but good in terms of offering their assistance. So I think this is really great. They are heading out there sooner rather than later. It sounded like they were going to maybe go out there at the end of the month if she hadn't been found already. But I think that they are rerouting and heading out there sooner, like I said, rather than later. They won't be disclosing which agency that they're working with. And I imagine we won't actually see much from them other than maybe the occasional update throughout the week, just because this is active and ongoing. So I imagine the videos that will come out from the Adventures with Purpose team will be much more in the future, especially if there's any interesting or real developments that they were to come across that could be important to the case as a whole. In addition to that, so we're just kind of going through the string of things here. Ryan Upchurch, who is, if you guys are unfamiliar, he's, I think, a country singer, also YouTuber, somewhat of an advocate now in the missing persons space on YouTube. I actually found him through, I think, Summer Wells. I think he had made a few Summer Wells videos. And so that's how I found out about this guy. He is offering his personal Hellcat. I read that wrong the first time. I thought he said he was going to buy somebody a Hellcat. He's just flat out offering to give somebody, whoever comes forward with information that leads to the answer of where Kiely is at. He is saying that he will personally deliver you his Hellcat. So he leaves the number to call, and yeah, it's gotten quite a bit of traction. He's a fairly popular name, and so he's got a lot of people that watch his videos in the first place. So it's never a bad thing to get this information out there. And this added to the reward that is, I think, already at close to $75,000 or more, I guess, at this point. I know it's at least at 75. The added Hellcat puts this reward at well over $100,000 now. And so hopefully, not that someone's going to see this and go, okay, that's what's going to make me talk. But I think it's a cool thing, and good on Ryan Upchurch for putting something out there on the line like that to try to get somebody to talk. I mean, anything at this point to try to help the case is appreciated. So good on you for that. We'll come back to Ryan in a second because he's starting to make some more videos around this case that are fairly interesting, and he makes some pretty good points. But we'll get to that in a second. I just wanted to call out a few moments from this video with Sam, who is supposedly this great friend of Kiely's. And I just, I'm not doubting their friendship by any means, but I have a few opinions based on what she says in this interview that she did that I just kind of want to comment on. So let's just listen to a few of these moments.
So, okay. At the end of the party, when I saw her, she was supposed to give me a ride home because I had asked her to give me a ride home because I wanted to stay later. I then realized later in the party that I believe she was drunk, and I knew she was drunk, and so I did not want her to be driving me home because I know about drunk drivers and all that. And so
because I know about drunk drivers and all that, I feel like I don't know. That whole thing sticks out to me as weird. It stands out to me as strange is that Kiely was going to be her ride, and then she was like, oh no, I found out, or I realized she was too drunk to drive, so I just abandoned her. I mean, really, that's what it sounds like. And it's just a strange thing to me that, not that Kiely didn't have anyone else there that she could have known, but to me, this case seems so much like the Alonzo Brooks case the more I look into it. If you guys are unfamiliar with this case, there's an Unsolved Mysteries episode on Netflix. I don't know which episode it is. It'd be pretty easy to find, but this guy was out of Lacine, Kansas at a party with his friends, and his friends, I think, went to go get cigarettes or more beer. I can't remember exactly. And they left him at this party. And I don't know why they just assumed that he would be able to find his way home, considering he lived a long ways from Lacine, Kansas, but they just left him there, and he ended up dying, and he ended up being found in like a body of water nearby, dead. And it was super like foul play, 100% involved. I don't want this to turn into something like this, but I just think of this case when I think of the Kiely Rodni case because they left her there. They left her there, and they know they left her there. And I know that, I don't know if they have anything to do with it or if they know more, but they left her there. And I think that that's an unfortunate thing. If she was so drunk and there were all these weird guys, older guys that were there doing drugs, and you had a bad vibe, why would you leave your friend there?
And then when I left the party, we were pretty much on 89 with my ride. And she called me as I was in the car in the passenger seat, and she was like, "Hey, where are you? Do you still need a ride home?" And I was like, "No, I'm okay. Like, I'm in the car right now. I'm like getting driven home now." But Kiely did not have a set ride home, and I was under the impression that she would either sleep there or find another ride home. And it was not known that anybody was going to give her a ride home. She was not, when she called me, she was not in a car. I could hear the party and many people talking in the background.
So one thing that sticks out to me there at the beginning of that, she said that Kiely called her and said, "Hey, do you still need a ride home?" I don't know if Kiely could have been super drunk. I don't know. But maybe she was just trying to say, like, I can give you a ride, whatever, and still trying to convince, maybe she was trying to convince her that she could give her a ride before she left. And Sam was saying, no, like, you're drunk. I'm not going to drive with you. Or maybe Kiely was calling her saying, "Hey, do you still need a ride? I found these guys that are super willing to give you a ride, and they're willing to drive my car." And like, look, Kiely's car is still missing. And so we know, there are certain things we know about this. Kiely is nowhere to be found. Her car is nowhere to be found. And her phone last pinged at 12:33 a.m. And I think they have every reason to believe it pinged near the campgrounds because they were searching the lakes and the reservoirs near there. And so that call back to Sam after Sam had left and her saying, "Hey, do you still need a ride?" I think that's a strange call. I think Kiely maybe ran into some people that said, "Well, we can drive you. We're good to drive. I'll just, where are your keys? We'll drive you." Because I don't think she was calling her to try to convince her to come back and get in the car with her. And once again, just driving the point home that this friend, Sam, I don't really know how good of a friend she is with Kiely. But to give a little an example of when I would, go out to bars and things like that with my friends, we would always make sure we had each other's backs, right? So like at the end of each night, if one of their friends that was with us throughout the night all of a sudden wasn't with us, for whatever reason, maybe they went back to somebody else's house. I mean, we didn't always end up at the same house, but we always made sure that each of us ended up somewhere safe each night. We would always make sure that that was the case. And so maybe they don't have a system like that, but here, if you're watching this video and you have close friends that you're going out to parties with or going out to bars with, whatever, make sure your friend finds a ride home. I think, look, I don't know the exact details that went down at this Kiely Rodni case, but this friend is going to feel really, really bad if something bad ends up happening to Kiely. So I don't want to make her feel worse, but please have a plan to make sure your friends are getting home safely. I mean, it's just call her an Uber, whatever you need to do, especially if she felt like this party had gotten to a weird place and there were weird people there. I mean, there's just too much weirdness around this situation with Sam and her just being like, well, yeah, she had no ride home. I don't know. There was no ride that I was aware of that she was getting. I mean, I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way. All right, here's the last little bit and then we'll move on.
I have a feeling, and obviously, I don't know. I have a feeling that she is still alive and she's still out there and she's still fighting, but that there's somebody else involved, and that's not confirmed. That's just what I believe. I think there has to be somebody else involved in this.
So her saying that I believe that she's still out there and fighting and that there would have to be somebody else involved, it just makes me feel like she knows more or knows like something sketchy happened. Like there was these guys there that maybe she's not talking about or whatever. I think people keep asking me, I've gotten a few messages, what do you think happened? What do you make of all this so far? I think, like I said, this is suspicious to me that how little she seems to know about the situation around Kiely and her ride home when Kiely was supposed to be her ride in the first place. Like, if I knew that my friend was supposed to give me a ride and they ended up being too drunk to drive, I would then make it my mission, like I was just saying, to get them home with me, right? Not to just abandon them. So there's some weirdness around the friends, but I think she probably knows. And what I'm thinking happened is that, yeah, there was probably some older dudes that ended up at this party. They were there and they realized maybe Kiely was super drunk and they realized, hey, this is an easy opportunity to take advantage of somebody, a young person. Her car's already here. Let's try to play the nice guy and say, oh, we'll give you a ride home. And she was just, she was abducted. She was taken. And I mean, this is being treated at this point as an abduction. Law enforcement's treating it as an abduction. And I think that is likely what happened. Okay, so the last thing I want to go through is just a couple of moments from Ikid Mel's YouTube video. Mel is a longtime YouTube friend, or at least in the past year. I came to know of Mel's channel through the Gabby Petito Brian Laundrie case. He had somebody come on his show that was supposedly a cousin with two guys that were at this party. And I think this also kind of weirds me out, just the way in which this guy responds to some of Mel's questions. I'm only going to point out a couple moments, but I'll leave the video down below. It's like a 19-minute video if you want to go listen to it for yourself. But let's just listen to a couple moments.
And so there was a lot of older dudes there. And so I asked them if they knew her, and they said they saw her there. And she was just like, laughing, going from group to group talking, and they didn't make nothing of it. But she was talking against a bunch of people. Like, she was just walking around talking to everybody.
So this guy's saying that his cousins, once again, he's speaking on behalf of his cousins, which is a little bit strange, like, because he had to have talked to his cousins to know this information. So it's weird for him to be calling in to Mel. But if there were 200 to 300 people at this party, what are his cousins, like, how they must have really noticed something about Kiely if they are remembering this, because in the moment they wouldn't have known, oh, she's going to go missing later. Let's figure out everything about her so we know this after the fact. It's like when a crime is committed after the fact, when you realize you were at a thing where something happened, you go, oh my gosh, do I remember anything from that? And I feel like it's weird that they have all of these specific things. And so if they truly were there and this was happening, Kiely likely was extremely drunk. If you've ever been to a wedding or a party or any sort of an event where someone is like another level drunk, it's usually a memorable thing. And you go, oh my gosh, that guy was like out of his mind. He was climbing on tables. And it's like a noticeable thing. And so the only thing I can think of is if Kiely was insanely drunk, she probably stood out even amongst hundreds of people. If she was bouncing around to different groups of people at this party, she likely stood out like a sore thumb, especially to somebody who potentially would have wanted to take advantage of her. And I think that's what I'm kind of coming to with this, is I feel like maybe she was super drunk and not able to really carry herself in the way that is safe, right? Like if she was able to really speak for herself and know, like, oh yeah, I need to like get myself home safely, like someone could have easily stepped in and taken advantage of that situation. I think that is probably what happened.
She wasn't walking around like, oh yeah, I'm tipsy, I'm cool. She was pretty drunk. Like,
yeah. So stumbling around.
If she would have been driving around, she would have been swerving easily swerving. So there was no.
Once again, the way he says that is just so specific, almost as if he was at this party as well. It's just strange. And then Mel asks him about the outfit.
Did they see her in a tank top, like the black?
Yeah,
spaghetti?
she was wearing the bodysuit. Yeah, she was wearing the same outfit, but they didn't see her wearing no sweatshirt.
He's like, yeah, absolutely. She was in a bodysuit. They didn't see her wearing a sweatshirt, though. And just once again, the way in which he's like responding to Mel is almost as if it's like, are his cousins, did they give him every possible scenario or answer ahead of time that Mel could have asked? Because the way he was just like, oh yeah, this is how it was. Once again, it's just as if he was there. So it's super strange, all in all, just the way he answered those questions. Like I said, I'll leave that video down below if you want to go through and listen to it yourself. If you're familiar with this case, I'm sure that you're already doing so, and you've probably already seen Mel's video at this point. But if you haven't and you want to see that video or any of the videos that I referenced today, please go down below. There's also information down below to submit tips. If you actually are somebody that maybe was at that party and you happened across my video, please give information. I will, like I said, continue to follow this case. Hopefully we'll have more information throughout the week, and I will be here to talk about that. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.